Good morning, guys. Oh dear. Good morning, guys. How we doing? Hope you're good. So this morning, we're going to discuss about the process to unself-sabotage yourself and rectify maybe an issue or problem that you've got going on in your own world, right? And I'm going to do that and be quite open and honest about that, about one of my own situations, and I'm going to go through the process with you of how I reflect on that, how I action it, and how I move forwards from it. And I thought it would be interesting for you to be able to see how that process works. Okay, so let's get on with it. Welcome to the Rise to Thrive show. I am your host, James Borman, and if you are coming through, please do hit the love heart button, and please do comment what your go-to is when you are struggling, if there is one. So what do you do when you realize if you're struggling in life? What is the coping mechanism? What is the strategy that you go to when you feel like that? And then please share with someone that might need this right now. All right, so I'm going to be honest here as well. So this week hasn't been a great week in terms of the way that I manage myself, in terms of the way that I'm showing up. So I go through this process of, and I do this in my morning walk, recognizing what's happening, i.e. the actions, which I'm going to go through with you in a minute, why it's happening, understanding the reasons why and the triggers, because that is important, right? Then what I'm going to do about it. Okay, and I'm going to go through that with you now. Okay, so what's actually happening, why it's happening, and what I'm going to do about it. So I'm going to share that with you. And I think I need to do this as part of my own accountability as well, but you get to listen to it and hopefully get some benefit from it. All right, so there are 4 key things that I've recognized that have not happened this week. Okay, and bearing in mind we're only 2 days in, right? But still, 2 days being in that place for me is not acceptable. Okay, it's not acceptable, and I haven't been in that type of place for a long time. So number 1 is I feel utterly disconnected from everyone because I'm so consumed in my own head with what's going on with work. Okay, and I feel like I've disconnected from the kids slightly. I feel like I haven't been listening to the wife, and I feel completely disconnected in my own world. I feel like I'm in my own world, in my own bubble, and everyone's out there kind of just in and around me. It's like it's like the difference between listening and hearing, right? You can just hear things going on. You're not actually listening, and it's like you're being there, but you're not actually present. Morning. Huge amounts of self-pressure. So I'm putting myself under huge amounts of self-pressure unnecessarily. And when I explain why, you'll understand reasons why. But it's important to realize that that's what I'm doing. It's important to realize how I'm doing that. and it's important for me to accept that I'm doing that. Otherwise, I'm going to live in a world of denial, right? And when we live in denial, we bury our head in the sand, which is why I'm doing this with you and being quite open about actually what's going on. So at the minute, or this week, I've been really snappy and really aggressive. Okay, I don't mean using aggressive, right? I'm going to knock you all out, but just if you think about the analogy that I always use of tread on eggshells around somebody, I would probably say that that's what everybody's been doing with me this week. Okay, and it will all become apparent why. And I'm just not in a room. I'm making silly mistakes. That's because I'm so in my own head. I'm not drawn back or stepping back to make really effective decisions, to be really effective in my actions. And I'm making silly mistakes because of it, right? So they're the 4 main things that are going on that haven't gone on for a very long time. And there's a couple of reasons why. The main reason why was last week, I would say that we faced almost a mini trauma in that we faced the possibility of our mortgage in March going through the roof in terms of monthly payments. And obviously, when we first were talking to our broker and we were looking at that, how much more money we were looking to pay, it was a really scary experience because we're like, how on earth do we deal with that? How do we deal with that? But after some perspective and calm thinking and reflective and the right attitude, we made a plan, we found a plan, and we had plan A, B, and C. Okay, so we got 3 different plans should that happen. Anyway, that aside, it caused a ripple effect, if you like, of action in here subconsciously. At the time, I didn't really think about it and only twigged this morning, which is why I wanted to share this with you. Because this is stuff that we always go through every single day, right? It might not necessarily, something might not necessarily affect you immediately, but down the line, when you realize it, what you're doing is the ripple effect of something that's happened to you. So I recognize that this week, I have 10x my efforts to build the business or move things forward from what we're trying to do, because subconsciously I felt the pressure of, man, we need to make the business more profitable. We need to make the business bigger. And it's that security thing of, actually, I need to protect my family so that we don't lose the house. And I'm sure that it's not going, in fact, I'm confident it's not going to come to that. But in the back of your mind, there is that subconscious part of your brain that is thinking, man, I need to protect my family. Man, I need to make sure I provide for my family. Subconsciously, I didn't even recognize it throughout the week until this morning when I was doing my perspective work, doing my reflection work and gratitude work, and it just hit me like a punch in the face, right? And I suddenly twigged it and realized it. So because of those things, I'm not beating myself up. So I want that to come across here. I don't need to give myself a break, okay? I don't need to give myself what I'm not doing here is portraying a pity party or a victim mentality. What I'm doing here is simply sharing with you the process, okay? And I have no qualms about being like this because, like you say, I am only human. But what I want to do is show you that human side, because I think too many coaches and too many people are forefront and make out that life is perfect and everything is going well, when really they will be facing the same realities. And I don't want you kind of thinking like no one else is going through this, because every human being goes through this, all right? So because of that, because of the mortgage thing, and because of like subconsciously wanting to protect the family, oh my God, wanting to protect the family, etc. I lost control of my time, my energy and my focus, which is my control system, right? It's how we become, it's how, oh my God, James Bournemouth, sort your life out. It's how we lose our control, we lose our consistency, and we lose our clarity, right? So those things are really important. So when you manage your time, your energy, and your focus, you keep yourself in a structured control system. And when you lose that, that's when things start to spiral out of control. That's when you break barriers that you have set. That's when rules are broken that keep you aligned. That's where phone management disappears. Okay. And those type of things then create chaos, and you overrun yourself. Okay. And these type of things are the fundamental reasons why so many other men fall into that spiral and struggle. Now, for me, it's only been 2 days because I picked it up. I've recognized it. Probably took me longer than I would have wanted, but I have recognized it, and now I am actioning it, and I'm sharing it with you, which helps me, like being able to share a lot of, oh my God, sorry guys, like there is a drip coming right down on me. Helps me in a lot that it helps me reflect a lot more openly. Okay. So what are we doing about it? Number one, we're accepting it. So accepting it is the first and foremost thing that we all have to do as a human, right? If work is too much, then you have to recognize and accept that you're working too much and you're misplacing your priorities. If you're making excuses, then you have to accept that you're making too many excuses. So the key thing here is no matter what the situation, whether mine is like all of those things that I've just spoken about, or whether yours is something else, it's about acceptance. First and foremost, confront the issue. Look at the reflection in the mirror and go, geez, this is not going well. This is not the way it's meant to be. And then review it. So I've just given you a great example, well, I think it's great, of how to review it. So the reviewing comes down to what's happening. What are the triggers that are telling you that something's not right? Well, usually if you're not showing up, that's one. If you're not working out or taking care of yourself, that's another. If you're eating poorly and drinking too much, well, that's a sign. So all of these different signs and symptoms basically say that things are not going the way that they should be, right? So when I talk to guys, they tell me this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. So these are the signs and these are the symptoms that something is not right. So then reviewing them and sitting down and looking at them is then the next step. So we then ask ourselves, what's happening and why? So the why allows us to find the cure. Okay, so the why allows us to find a cure. Okay, so triggered by the mortgage, my time, my energy and focus is not being controlled. My planning is too crammed, it's too much, I'm overrun. So these sort of things I then need to rectify, which when I get home today, I'm going to cut half of my workload so that I can focus back on the family, because I do this job so that I can be a full-time dad. And that's what I sometimes forget, right? And then the last part is the action planning, which is what I was just talking about there. So the action planning is, what am I going to do about this? Now, the worst thing that you can do is try to change everything all at once, because you can't change everything all at once. Okay, it will create more stress than it's worth. So you have to look at the things and go, okay, what are the things that I can control right away, and what are the things that I can change immediately? Okay, well, this is what I can change here. This is what I can change here. So for me, this week, the things that I can change immediately are going straight back to putting barriers in place in terms of when I finish work, going back into putting barriers on my phone management, going back into barriers about what I can realistically achieve within a day. Things that I can change immediately are my priorities, that family is first and foremost. And actually, everything is going to work out exactly the way it needs to work out. And that, in theory, must have been on here 10, 11, 12 minutes. It's just that review system. And that is the power. That is the power of a morning routine. That is the power of a morning routine. So I do RPG, R, reflection, P, perspective, G, gratitude. And I didn't pick this up yesterday because I was so deep into all of it. And I didn't pick it up yesterday. I started thinking a little bit about it, and then this morning it clicked. And that's the power of consistency. Showing up, doing the same thought process every single morning on my 45-minute walk. I don't listen to anything because I allow my thoughts to just dictate where things are going. And because I have slowed down slightly, and because the intensity of the stress of the week has died down, it allows me to see the sun through the clouds. And now I can review that with you here. Now I feel a lot better. It's off my chest. I can go back and action it and get the week back to normal. All right? That's about as good an example as I can give you about reviewing when things... And by the way, like what I'm going through, all that is minor. And that is what you also have to understand in terms of perspective. No one's died. My house hasn't been taken off me. There aren't missiles flying in out from sea. We're not at war. I can go down a shop and I can buy a bottle of water. Like in terms of perspective, when I do my perspective, the problems that I've got are good problems because I've got a house to actually try and review. I've got a business that I can build. I've got clients that actually trust me. I've got people that actually listen to me. There's some people who don't have any of that. So so when we put some perspective on actually what we're going through, really it's minor compared to what everybody else is going through, right? So you repackage the problem and you go, well, you know, let's put that should help with the perspective. Anyway, listen, guys, I hope that helps. I certainly feel a lot better, like getting that off my chest. You know, I have no issues in showing that I am human, that there are vulnerabilities, that there are sometimes I do get caught up. But the good thing is that it lasted 2 days and not 2 months or 2 years. And the difference is that you have to show up to hit that review button. That you have to be honest with yourself. You have to take the reflection in the mirror and go, right, this is not going the way I want it to go. So let's shift and alter. All right. Thanks for listening. I'll see you Friday.